I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost was with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, hello. This is Christina Barr. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today I want to talk about some viral clips from this television show, Love is Blind. It's on Netflix. I've seen, I don't know how many seasons there have been. I've seen, I think, at least 2 of them, but they've gone viral in the conservative sphere because there were 2 liberal women who left dudes at the altar because of their liberal worldview and some of the things they just, believed were crazy. But I actually think it's crazier though that these dudes were just gonna go along with it. When to be fair, these women let their status be known and their feelings be known, and they shouldn't have let it get that far themselves. So they're sad and crying on the wedding day. I guess my question is, what's wrong with the guys? Like, obviously what's wrong with the women, but what's wrong with the guys that there's all these red flags and they just keep going for it, So anyway, I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about a Sam Seder clip from a Jubilee debate. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I want to talk about this one part where they start talking about ethics and religion and things like that, and Sam didn't do too hot. And I went to the comments of the Jubilee video to see what people were saying about the episode, and most of them thought that the MAGA, it was like Sam Seder versus like 20 MAGA people. And it was, the comments were like, oh my gosh, these people are crazy. And I don't know, it didn't seem like a lot of people followed it. So I wanted to at least talk about that and some other things as well. We got some time. So anyway, before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it does cost a stream or my site, all that stuff, so you guys can support. I appreciate it. Please check out different merch that's available on the website, like different t-shirts and mugs and so on, that you guys may like. So go ahead and check out that stuff. You guys can also check out some of my different books that I've written. I have 18 altogether. There's a link in the Amazon. There's a link in the description for watching on Facebook and YouTube. That'll take you to the Amazon website. Just a little FYI on Facebook, and this is good for anyone to know if you use Facebook and stream sometimes. I think it's July, starting in July, to save up on space, they are deleting everyone's lives if it's older than 30 days. So, my stuff will still be like on YouTube or whatever. So all my stuff on Facebook, I guess, will be gone. So there's that. It just seems like Zuckerberg got all that money and they can't keep up with the storage. They got to start deleting stuff. So it was a bigger concern, I guess, for my church, but they're just going to move stuff that's, because we just stream directly just to Facebook and just from our Facebook page, but they're just going to move it onto YouTube. So you have the opportunity to download all your stuff. So if you have stuff streamed on, I guess I have other stuff that's like black tea related, not black tea related, that I might have streamed that I might want to save. So I have to go look at it. So just go ahead and just FYI, download your stuff from Facebook because they are just going to delete all that stuff. Also, hope you guys had a nice weekend. Hope you guys had a nice, relaxing weekend, and it was great for you guys. So mine was pretty good. Nothing like super eventful. I did preach on Friday. It was really good. We had a nice Bible study on Saturday, but other than that, not too eventful, but hope you guys had a nice time. In May, I will be at Motor City Comic Con in the Artist Alley next. Well, I haven't got my seating yet, so when I know where I'll be at, I'll let you guys know. But I just know I'll be in Artist Alley, likely next to my sister Tina. That's how it usually is, but I have to let you know when I have the exact table seat, and I will have my books there, and hopefully I'll meet some of you there. So let me see. I think there was something else technical that I wanted to let you guys know. Oh yeah, Friday's post was blocked by YouTube. And it was blocked. I don't know if it was maybe blocked on Facebook too. I have to go back and look, but Friday's episode was blocked everywhere. You got flagged by iHeart Radio Media, I guess, for Gavin Newsom's podcast, that section that we talked about it. So I have not appealed it yet. So I assume that they'll maybe let me get away with an appeal. If you're talking about political stuff and there's someone who's a potential candidate for president in 2028, I think that's very easily free use. I mean, not free use, but fair use. And we'll see what iHeartRadio ends up doing. But yeah, that'll be my spiel. But we'll see if they allow it. April said that she doesn't consider YouTube to be social media. We use it more like TV. Yeah, the only thing that's really social media about it, like you could do posts on it, and sometimes my posts on YouTube will do better than they will on Facebook. But anyway, just FYI, I will appeal it. And I was gonna clip it, and they'll probably block that too. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, I don't know if Netflix will end up blocking this. If there's any, I give this warning when I play things that are on TV or whatever. But I've only had ABC, I think, really kind of block me before when playing like those kind of videos live. If there's an interruption, sometimes when you play things that are like copyrighted, there's an interruption in the stream. I'm still streaming. It's just YouTube being funny. Once the video stops, it'll resume. Just a little FYI. But I don't think we'll have an issue. I'm not gonna play all this 3-minute clip. I just there's 2 3-minute clips from the show Love Is Blind, and then there's another clip that's like kind of like a follow up. Anyway, there's the Love Is Blind. If you're unfamiliar with the show, it's a social experiment where there's people living in these pods, and they will go and talk to these females will talk to these dudes, and they won't see each other. They can hear each other. They'll spend hours together just talking, and so they're building a connection with each other, and they have to decide kind of who they're gonna be with, and then they'll show them each other, and then they'll live with each other for a little while, and then at the end they'll decide whether or not they're going to get married. And I watched like maybe the first 2 seasons of it, and there were some good couples that came out of it. There was some crazy drama that came out of it. My younger sister, second to the youngest, Angelina, she really likes like Love Is Blind, Married at First Sight, so she watches this stuff. But she didn't watch this season because I did call her to talk to her about it. I'm like, did you see this viral stuff? And I told her about the drama and about these girls and how they're very liberal and how they left these guys because they don't believe in abortion and don't support or don't know enough about Black Lives Matter or whatnot. And then she's just like, why didn't they figure that out in the pods? And that's a very good question. Like, what? That's a very good question. Like, why didn't they figure this out in the pods? And the girls did like let it be known. Like, I at least saw this one clip for this blonde girl that she let it be known that she supported LGBT stuff, that she has an issue with church because she sees us as hypocrites. And but yet they come after her sister for being gay, and her sister's her best friend, and it's still they still proceed. So to me, it's crazy. And people are all like, oh, look at these crazy women. Look at these crazy women. They dodged a bullet. They dodged a bullet. They should not have to dodge a bullet. And they didn't even dodge. It just kind of missed them accidentally. So I got an issue with these women, sure. And I would like to, have a conversation with them and maybe totally own them or whatnot. And or rather, I'd rather just have a civil discussion and persuade them to believe other things. But I have an issue with these dudes. So let me start off with this first clip here. And or let me start off. She's got 2 clips. So let me start off with the blonde. And then we'll get to the black girl. Sarah and Ben. So a lot of people are talking about Sarah and Ben.
I love you so much. But I've always wanted a partner to be on the same wavelength. And so today I can't. I'm sorry, but I don't want that to be misunderstood. I still love you and everything about you is amazing. Mm-hmm. And I care about you so much.
I care about you too. And I love you so much. And I know I want to stay with you and keep growing our relationship if you'll let me.
We'll see. We'll talk about that. Okay.
Nuts. He's nuts. He's crazy. And you see them all like,
I know that the connection we have is so real. And
yeah. See, sappy music.
I'm fine. Get me out of here. You guys, really, I'm okay. I don't know. I feel kind of numb. Yeah. Oh yeah. Because it's sad. Like I was really excited about Ben, and I'm just like, he's such a great person. I just like. I just hope I made the right decision.
Hi guys.
Oh my goodness.
Love you.
We love
guys,
you.
It was a lot, but we're rolling with it. I just want to talk to her. Yeah.
Get over it, bruh.
Like the time frame. I mean, I knew the whole time coming into this, the time frame. Like that's not like I feel like I know him. Like really.
Yeah.
Like I remember. Like I asked him about like Black Lives Matter, and I'm no expert, but like when I asked him about it, he was like, "I guess I've never really thought too much about it." That affected me, especially in our own city. Like, how could it not? How did it not make you think about something? Right?
Okay, BLM. Now, I guess I would want someone who's thought about those sorts of things, but people aren't all into politics like that, you know. But I would want someone to be aware of what BLM was and that, they're a trash organization. And they supported a narrative that wasn't true, and they had agendas that were destructive to the country and specifically to the Black community. And that I would, if I was Ben, I would have laid the facts on her. And she said, "I'm no expert." Yeah, girl, if you're willing to break up a relationship over BLM, no, you're no expert. Okay. Black Lives Matter. People on the surface level, like, oh, they're drawing attention to police brutality, but they have a narrative that police are just going out there killing people. Like that's the narrative that they push, and it's not true. Not if you, it's just, if you look at the data, it's not true. There's, and when you point out the data, some people have been fired for that. I've talked many times about it. There was a data scientist from Reuters who made a huge like report on BLM narrative and police shootings and police encounters and stuff, and proved that the narrative of BLM doesn't really match up to reality. And he ended up losing his job, and he made all these people from his job uncomfortable. And it's a news organization. And they didn't like the truth, couldn't handle the truth. Roland Fryer from Harvard, Black professor, had tenure and stuff. He got a huge amount of blowback because he did a test, did an experiment about police interactions, and saw that police, officers were not like purposely harming or killing, or doing it like at a really a higher rate. And he thought he would find the opposite results, so he actually fired like everyone who was working with him on the team and got fresh people so they could replicate the experiment, and they still got the same results, and everybody flipped out on him and stuff. So he's talked about it. I played his findings and everyone's reaction for you guys, so I won't do it again right now, but so they push a false narrative. But not only that, a lot of their investments were into LGBT stuff, which I guess Sarah wouldn't mind because, I don't know if she wouldn't mind, because if you think it's going to things to prevent police brutality and they spend it on drag shows, I would be upset. I'd be concerned with those sorts of things. But a lot of their initiatives and goals was LGBT minded, and we know that Patrice Cullors, and I can't think of the name of the other person who helped found it, but they were trained Marxist. Like when people would ask, how do you know that BLM is going to succeed and last? We've seen other movements like the Wall Street thing that they had before, like a long time ago. Can't think of what the name of it. It's like escaping me. But there's other movements in the past that have flailed out. How do you know BLM is going to last? And like, well, we have an ideology. We're trained Marxists. So they told you that it's about Marxism, okay? Flat out. And then they used a lot of the money from the organization to enrich themselves. And then on top of that, what really started exposing BLM is when people, like everyday people, started paying attention to the fact that in their what we believe section of their website, which I don't think they took it down. I don't know if something else exists in its place now, but in their what we believe portion of their website, you can still go and Google and find the former stuff, what they used to say. But they talked about how they wanted to dismantle like the idea of the Western prescribed nuclear family. So and we'd have all these lists of how they care for this person, this intersectionality, this stuff, or whatever identity politic thing. And there wasn't anything in there about empowering Black fathers or encouraging Black fathers to be married to Black mothers and raising beautiful Black children together at home. There wasn't anything like that. So there were some like more high profile people who were like, I support the family and this stuff is destructive. So I think when that, like conservatives like me were like yelling it to the rooftops, but when people with bigger voices start talking about it, that's also when it started to go down. And also when people start really looking into the finances, but their ideology was trash. So deciding that you're going to not marry Ben, who you say that you love, isn't a great guy and you know him so well, because he didn't have much of an opinion about BLM, is trash. And if you have a positive opinion about BLM, then you're trash and haven't done enough research. Okay. So that annoyed me on her part.
I asked him to like what his church's views are, and he said he didn't know. And so then I watched a sermon online
from his church
about sexual identity.
Okay.
And it was traditional. I told that to Ben. And he doesn't really have much to say about it, I want him to think about that stuff. Sometimes I did wonder if it was surface, fun, carefree love that we had. Equality, religion, the vaccine.
The vaccine. Oh, the vaccine. Okay, I don't know when they filmed this. Because they film all this stuff and they put it out or whatever. So it's not like it was filmed yesterday. But enough time has passed that if you are trashing Ben or upset about Ben and his views on the vaccine, knowing that it didn't stop the spread and the unconstitutional OSHA mandates, and if you're still like prejudiced toward people about that's insane. That's insane. That's insane. But as far as the LGBT stuff, she did tell him about her sister, and she did tell him about her views while they were in the pods. I saw that clip. I don't have that clip pulled up for you guys. But they were, when they're in the pods together, before they'd seen each other, when they were still getting to know each other, she said, "My sister is gay. I love my sister. She's my best friend. I have a problem with church because a lot of these people are hypocrites because they say that she's going to hell, but their priest might be like engaged in sexual assault or something." So that's her view. That's something she said. She has a skewed, like, prejudice sort of sense against the church, because obviously not there are sexual predators in the church. There's sexual predators everywhere. It's just an unfortunate part of life where people, predators, where they can assume power, they'll assume power to and exercise it over people. They act out where there's some familiarity with the people and stuff. It's just a fact of life that you can find them in churches or you can find them in schools. Okay, but you don't write off all schools and all teachers. But you are careful. But if someone is abusing their power to be a sexual pervert over someone, or just a sexual pervert, period, then they are disrespecting the teachings of the Bible, of the gospel, of the Church of Christ. Like, that's the reality. If people were more like Christ, we wouldn't have these issues. When people stray away, that's when you get creeps like this. Okay? That doesn't change whether what the church teaches about homosexuality and whether or not her sister is or isn't in sin. You can love your sister to death. She can still be your best friend, but if she's living in sin, in this case she is, it is what it is. And if you're going to teach about, I think she said something about love thy neighbor, use that passage. And a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people use that. It's the second greatest commandment to love thy neighbor as yourself. Well, the first greatest commandment is to love God with all your heart, your mind, and your soul. So you have to love God, right? So that if you're looking into proper perspective, you have to love God. You love God by keeping his commandments, and you love your neighbor by treating them as you would yourself. But do you want to go to hell? Like, why would you want your neighbor to go to hell? Why would you want your sister to go to hell? Why would you want to coddle her and just love her? I wouldn't say love her to the grave, but coddle her into the grave, into hell. You'd want to help lead her to a path of righteousness. And I don't want to pick on like the LGBT stuff. Usually I don't even, I could use like a different example of like some kind of other sexual immorality, so people get the drift or whatever. Like just because someone loves someone, like, I love this person, but they're not your husband, they're someone else's husband, you wouldn't encourage that relationship because that's disordered, that's immoral. You can't just live a life that you want to just because you want to, so not all relationships that we have or desire to have are necessarily good and should be encouraged. So, but anyway, she told him, and she asked him, would you go to like a pride parade? He's like, oh, I'm comfortable around, those groups or whatever. So he went along with it. So he's someone, if he goes to church all the time, you know what your church says, actually good on her for going online to listen to the sermon. Because you would assume if he's someone who goes to church, he'd want to bring his wife to church. So she wants to know what she's in for. But shame on him, because he should want to be equally yoked. And maybe he goes, but he's not really paying much attention. But I don't know why you go and you don't absorb that, especially as a grown person. So this is different when you're a kid. Someone makes you go to church. You're a grown person going to church and you're not absorbing what's in there, what's being taught. Is it just a social club? I don't know. But she told him, she did her research, and she's like, nah. And then he said, well, I still want to be with you. We can work this out. She's like, we'll talk about it. Just let it go, bro. Just let it go. Just let it go. Just let it go. But if you truly love someone, the Bible talks about love being patient and kind, and being slow to anger, but it talks about not rejoicing in wrongdoing, but rejoicing in the truth. And if you are a Christian, there might be desires and things that you want out of life, but you're supposed to crucify yourself and take up your cross. Like, go read what crucifixion was. How, I don't know, go back and watch the Passion of Christ if you need to, but to get a sense of how terrible crucifixion, how brutal of a death that it is. But you're supposed to crucify your flesh daily. It's a really a religion that is so not about you. And we're not supposed to conform to the ways of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of our mind. We're not supposed to be like the world. We're supposed to want to be like Jesus. So Ben. Like, people keep talking about how crazy she is, but she did the right thing. She did the right thing. And he's like, "Can we talk about it?" That's nuts to me. That's nuts to me. That is nuts to me. And so there was another couple. There was another couple. I don't even know if I need to play this wedding scene, because there's a reunion scene I could play.
I love you so much.
What?
I'm just not ready.
Crying. Just stop.
So sorry.
You don't look that sorry. And his family's gonna be like, "What if she wasn't ready? Then why didn't then why and they're like, he didn't deserve this. Why'd you do the experiment if you weren't ready?" Here's a little. I think this is where she talks
Deal
about.
breaker for me. It was how when that's what the whole experiment was for, is to find somebody. You found somebody, and now you're not ready.
Yeah.
I didn't like that we had differences in politics. I don't think that was a deal breaker for me. It was how the communication around that was handled. It wasn't that we saw things differently. Devin said that he was raised in a conservative household, and he just asked me if I like voted with my faith in mind, and that was off-putting because I do vote with my faith in mind. And then he didn't really want to talk about it more than that.
Okay, so do you vote with the faith of mind? So I knew from other chatter that they were talking about the issue of abortion and stuff or whatever with the faith in mind. And on the reunion show, she dove into that a bit more. But keep in mind, she's like, she was offended because he asked her whether she votes with her faith in mind. She might, she you know she might be praying to some weird guy and believing something else that he believe in. So maybe she vote with her faith in mind, but she ain't voting with Christ in mind. Okay, that's not who she's voting for. Keep it in mind when she goes to the ballot box. But here we go.
I love Devin a lot. I think it's very apparent as I watch it back. But we just were not in alignment on some really important things. Like what important things, Virginia? Devin told me a lot about his core values, something that he did not want to talk about on camera. I still to this day don't really feel comfortable telling you Devin's views, but I will be really clear about mine. Okay. I 100% support the LGBTQ community. I also believe that women should have the decision to choose if they want to have an abortion or not. I also believe that different religions should be valued. That is our different ways of communicating to God, like different languages. And these were really important things to me. We saw my diverse group of people come to my wedding. I have Muslim family members, and this was an important part of this decision. We got there emotionally, but ultimately aligning our lives together was a big decision. Yeah.
Okay. He said something after that, but even let's put the LGBT stuff aside. LGBT. Did she say Q? But she got to the T, so that's bad enough. Okay, with that and the abortion thing. Let's just put that aside. She was offended because he asked her, "Do you vote with your faith in mind?" She's like, "I do vote with my faith in mind." But she said that she believes all faiths are like equal and it's all just like a love language to God, and she has Muslim family members. And we all don't believe each other's going to heaven. Like, okay. Christians believe that Jesus is the only way. It is not a like inclusive belief system. It's not. So if he's a Christian and you claim to be Christian, I don't know, whatever. And shame on him, because he's out here trying to be unequally yoked, unless they're not. And he's not really Christian either. But if he purports to be a Christian and she's saying this stuff and this is what she believes, then he should be up there crying or whatever and trying to marry this girl. But y'all ain't compatible. Politics, you could probably, like, if your politics aren't your politics are going to reflect your values, but there's some things that are surface level. Like if you're arguing about taxes or something, that's one thing. But on whether or not you can kill a baby and like the LGBT stuff, I think that's more of like a faith dispute more than like a political thing that should really, define whether or not you're like, if one of you believes a boy can become a girl and a girl can become a boy, fellas. Okay, I don't understand why you'd want a woman. I don't understand why you'd want a woman who believes that your son can be a girl. Who believes that your son can be a girl. You might have a child and they might, Gabrielle Union might come in there. and then all some kind of nonsense. I know Dwayne or whatever, Wade, like he's crazy too, but like the mother of that child did not want that child trans. But you can have a crazy person come in and get in your child's head, and then they get snip. Okay? You don't want that. That should be not just a red flag. That is a buzzsaw. Separate the relationship. That's crazy. You should never trust a woman like that. I don't get it. I don't understand. Someone denying reality like that. I don't understand. And she said T. I support the T. She said the T too. It wasn't just same-sex attraction. Okay? She said the T. So he's already crazy for wanting to align with the crazy. I also don't understand, fellas, if you believe that you're made in the image of God and your wife is made in the image of God and your child is made in the image of God, or your, let's just say your girlfriend before she's a wife, your girl, that if you had a child to be made in the image of God, why would you want to be with a woman who believes that she can destroy that image bearer of God? I don't understand why a man would be like, oh yeah, totally cool. I want to be with a woman who thinks it's okay to kill our kid. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. And I'm talking about electively. I'm not talking about like a medical emergency, you have to induce the labor or something like that, or topic pregnancy or whatever. I'm talking about, I don't think I'm ready, or something like that, where I'm kind of done having the kids, or I don't think we're there financially. Just, I don't understand that. Someone who'd be willing to say, this is half of you, and we're going to get rid of it. I don't understand that, fellas. I don't understand. So this is on you. If y'all had that conversation and you still wanted to proceed, if you had that conversation and you still wanted to proceed, something is wrong with you, brother. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't understand. But this idea that we're all just speaking love languages to God, Muslims don't believe that, and neither do Christians. Muslims don't believe that Jesus was God. They'll say he didn't claim to be God either. Muslims don't believe that Jesus died on the cross. Muslims don't obviously believe that he rose from the dead because he didn't die on the cross. Muslims do believe that he was born of a virgin. Muslims do believe that he was a prophet and taught great things. They even believe he's coming back again. And he's going to come back again, according to them, and tell all the Christians that they screwed up. So we both can't be right. We both can't be right. We are in complete opposition to each other. You can say they respect Jesus. They not enough to acknowledge that he's God. No, they don't. So this is just a brain dead take. It's a brain dead take. And you want to be so inclusive that you're just speaking nonsense. I know it hurts to think that people you love aren't going to make it to the pearly gates, but it would be better if you showed them the inconsistencies in their beliefs and tried to persuade them. The loving thing to do would be to be like David Wood and to keep witnessing to his friend Nabil until he got him to convert. The loving thing would be to be like David Wood and talk to his friend, apostate prophet, who recently gave his heart to God. I don't know how recently, but he just announced it the other day that he became a Christian. He had left Islam and was agnostic or whatever, atheist for about 10 years and was just kind of searching and wandering or whatever. So now he's a Christian. So he just announced that. So he's Orthodox. So praise the Lord. Lots of people do convert. And that should be your mission. But just blindly and naively believing that everyone's going to make it to heaven, it's all just a love life. We believe different things. Your nonsense helps no one. And you can be nice. There's a difference between being nice and being kind. There's a difference between being nice and being kind. And being nice might be, oh yeah, sure, little Johnny is a Sally. And your niceness can end up with little Johnny's dick cut off, okay? That's where niceness can get you. But to be kind is to be truthful and say little Johnny is little Johnny. And we don't need to affirm this nonsense. That little boy's going to grow into a man. And he'll likely grow out of any confusion. But we need to protect him from the social contagion. And if it's deeper than that, we need to get him some help. But we're not going to lie to little Johnny. And as President Trump said, God made you the way that you are. And you're perfect the way that you are. And you don't need to be, he didn't say this, but you don't need to be hacking up the rest of you to try to find someone inside of you who doesn't exist. That's what niceness can get you. Kindness rejoices in the truth. Love rejoices in the truth. It's not loving to pretend that everybody's going to make it up in the heaven. We all believe different things. We all believe different things, ma'am. Let's I saw this clip last night of this man who had converted and he was arguing with a Muslim who wanted him to die because if you convert from Islam, you're an apostate and capital punishment is what's supposed to happen to you.
Yeah.
For me, I can look past certain things, and I think that you can be together and have a relationship and not completely agree on everything. And I think a big thing with me as a Christian is to love everyone, and regardless of like how I feel about something, I think that you can be together and have a relationship and not completely agree on everything or don't see the same eye to eye as she might have.
That's true, but on things that deep, bruh, she has a fundamental misunderstanding about religion. And you can have a I wouldn't. Well, you can have a relationship. It doesn't need to be like, I feel that if you date and stuff, it should be like geared toward you looking for a spouse. That's how I think that dating should really be looked at as. You can hang out with somebody all you want and have conversations, talk on the phone, and go to dinner. If you want to pay for it, that's fine, or whatever. Go Dutch. But you catch a feels. You don't need to be catching feels with somebody who has such a skewed view on so many things that are fundamental to you. So she has a fundamental misunderstanding about religion. The abortion thing is I know people are deeply divided about it, but why? Well, she act like he didn't want to talk that much about it. This is something you got to hash out. Why does she believe what she believes? Why do certain people, human beings, have certain rights and other ones don't? Very interesting conversation for Black people to have with each other, I think. Why do certain humans get entitled certain rights and other ones are discriminated against, dehumanized, so they can justify taking away certain rights from them? At what point was this man and woman considered to be persons? And what were they prior to that? When did they get value? When did they get value? So I could tackle this issue in a secular way. I could tackle this issue in a religious way, which I do both in a book that I wrote, but of course, guys blatantly gets abortion. But I don't think that's something you ought to. I don't understand why a dude would want to marry a female who thinks it's okay to kill his kid. I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Was she off your baby and you never even knew about it? That would be a serious deal breaker for me. Like, a serious deal breaker. That, like, the gay marriage thing is probably like the least problematic out of the things that she listed. But the tea. The tea. The tea. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Yeah. She ain't a Christian, bruh. She ain't a Christian, bruh. Like, she got to go back to Sunday school. She needs Sunday school, not a husband. Okay? And y'all are just sitting up here crying. So what's with these dudes? Going on the reality TV show to find these women, these super liberal women. Y'all go to church? Like, I know there's a lot of single people in church, but it's usually a lot of single ladies. Cause it's like, where's the fellas at? Like, if you go to church, I don't know how big their church is, but if you grow up in church, especially like the white guy, I'm like, if you got like a sizable congregation, like young white people be marrying like boom, 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 boom. So why do you need to go on a reality show and you're settling for these ultra liberal women? And you're very concerned. You can't find now there are liberal women in the church though. I mean, that's an issue too. That's an issue too. But if you go and you visit and you're sitting in other conservative churches, like, talk to women in there. I don't know if you just really wanted to be on TV, but none of this math is mathing to me. None of this math is mathing. I'm gonna go and look at some of your comments. There's a reason the Bible talks about being unequally yoked. Relationships are hard enough as it is. A relationship built on shaky foundation cannot stand. That's true. And there are couples who are married to each other. They disagree on politics and a bunch of different things, but like things that are like moral foundations, how you're going to raise your kids. you gotta hash out a lot of that stuff, and a lot of that stuff really should be hashed out in those pods. Um, you know, uh, for him to want to overlook her beliefs shows that he was not as devoted. That's probably talking about been there. People who are willing to compromise are confused by people who won't. Yeah. I the women, I don't like their views for sure, but I'm baffled by these men because I feel like if you're like a real Christian dude, I feel like you got options. I feel like you got options because there's more of us in these churches usually than there are of them. Um. Anyway, I'm scrolling through some of your comments to see if there's any. Okay. Anyway, we can move on, but I don't understand these men, and I could repeat that same line for the next 20 minutes, so I won't. Okay. Anyway, the next thing I want to talk about was this Sam Seder was on Jubilee, and I saw a couple snippets, and I didn't oh, I'm sorry. Before I do that, let me show you this clip I referenced about the Muslim and the ex-Muslim.
Are you? How long have you been a Christian?
Just a couple of years, man.
Couple years. What was you before?
Muslim.
You was a Muslim before?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Can you recite Surah Kawthar for me?
Surah
Kawthar.
Kawthar.
Yeah.
إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصلي لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر.
Okay, good. So let me just get this right. You left Islam for Christianity?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So when you say you was a Muslim, was you a Sunni Muslim or an Ahmadi?
Sunni.
You have to be out of your mind.
Why is that?
I'm a Muslim for 11 years. You have to be out of your mind to go from oneness of God to believe that God is a man. You have to be out of your mind.
No,
Let me say something. And I know that you have zero grounds. You are a jahil.
You are praising Muhammad as well.
You're a jahil. That's how I know you never even understood Islam. Now, so you claim you was a Muslim and you claim we worship the Kaaba. You're a jahil. You're an absolute.
The way how you put words into my mouth, I will do it to you as well.
Grade A, jahil, ignorant, proud of that.
I'm proud of that.
The capital punishment, alhamdulillah, we're proud of that.
What?
Alhamdulillah.
Would he kill me?
Alhamdulillah, I'm proud of it.
Would he kill me?
Alhamdulillah, I'm proud of it.
Would he kill me?
I'm proud of it.
I'm an ex-Muslim.
What are you going to do, bro? I'm proud of it.
Would he kill me?
What are you going to do?
No
problem.
I love you. I love you in Christ.
I don't love you, brother.
You don't love me?
I don't love you.
Okay, I forgive you. I pray for you, and I love you.
In Islam, there's a capital punishment. If you live in the Sharia, I will have popcorn and I'll be watching it.
You'll kill me.
There is a capital punishment in Islam, and I'm telling you, I am proud of it, bro.
You're proud of that?
I am proud of it, bro.
So Jesus said to forgive your enemies, to love your enemies, to pray for your enemies, and you're telling them to kill them.
Alhamdulillah, bro.
Look at Jesus compared to Muhammad.
Yeah. Look at Jesus compared to Muhammad. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, I didn't mean to not share my screen anymore. Hold on. So Sam Seder was on Jubilee, and Sam Seder has a huge following. He's, left-wing guy. So he was taking on 20 Trump supporters, and some of the snippets, I didn't watch the whole thing, admittedly, didn't look too great for MAGA folks. There were some things that they were saying where their delivery wasn't great, but Sam didn't really have a great point. But people are sharing this particular clip around, and I think that he was people are saying he was cooked here. I think he lost this little portion here, or didn't do well. But this prompt, because the person who was surrounded, that's what the name of this show for Jubilee is. The person in the guest gets to say a prompt, and they argue it for I don't know, like 25 minutes or something like that, or 20 minutes. And people run for the chair, and then they sit down for the time and they talk. And when you're voted out, like that's why people raise the flags. They send in someone else. And so eventually this guy is voted out. Like there's a little bit more after this clip. I don't know why it was cut off there, but there's not much more that you miss. And they do eventually vote him out. But it was interesting. So I just wanted to play this.
Okay, so
I'm sorry. I meant to tell you guys what the prompt was. So the prompt was, unless you're a billionaire, religious fundamentalist, or a xenophobic, maybe it's not. Hold on. No, sorry, xenophobic nationalist. Okay, unless you're a billionaire, religious fundamentalist, or a xenophobic nationalist, voting for Trump was a mistake. So, so he decides to debate the religious fundamentalist position against Sam. If if you were a woman, let's say you're a lesbian and you have a daughter, and you don't want her to have to play against a boy in sports or something, you know, why would you regret voting for Trump? If that's a reason that you're concerned, like maybe you're concerned about DEI and how it might, well, I guess if you're lesbian yourself, but your kid's not, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get those sort of benefits from the DEI stuff. So let's say you're concerned about the future, things like affirmative action or whatever, which was overturned by the court, but namely due to how the court is structured because of the conservative majority. So there's different reasons why you'd be outside of those examples that Sam is using, why you'd still be happy that you voted for Donald Trump. And it's still very early. So we have to see how his term shapes up to know how much of a mistake it was for people. But this is a dumb clickbaity sort of prompt. And I haven't watched it all through, so I don't know how well everyone actually engages with the prompt. A lot of people were saying that everyone wasn't really engaging too much with the prompt, but this guy is going to tackle the fundamentalist, religious fundamentalist portion of it.
I would like to touch on the religious fundamentalist aspect.
Yeah.
Are you an atheist?
I'm a Reformed Jew. I don't have a strong belief in the existence of God, but I don't think that religion in and of itself is bad.
Okay, so what's wrong with religious fundamentalists? So like when you said trans rights and women's rights or something like that?
Well, the problem I have with religious fundamentalists, and really more, they want to impose their morality that comes from their religion on the rest of us. And I don't.
But morality, from your view, is going to be a preference, right? It's not morality; it's a preference. So morality without a foundation is going to reduce you to a preference.
Well, I have a foundation for my morality.
Which is what?
It's a humanist vision of what basically creates as little suffering as possible for as many people.
Okay, so you're like a consequentialist, utilitarian.
I don't really bother myself with being a consequentialist or a utilitarian.
So we'll keep listening, but I find that to be an interesting thing to say, that the worldview is that you want to just make sure there's as little suffering as possible for the most amount of people. You could, it depends on what you view as suffering, because what comes to mind is I'm very much against abortion. You guys all know that. And then usually a pro-choice person will come in and say something like, but what about all those kids in foster care? Which the children who are in foster care are wards of the state, because they're usually in some kind of bad situation. Maybe like, I don't know, the parents really couldn't pay and they're in a deep like economic issue, like kids aren't getting fed, or maybe there's abuse or drug use or something like that, the children just have to be removed and taken care of. The goal is reunification. So hopefully the parents get the act together. Usually the unification process on average takes about maybe 2 years. A lot of kids in foster care aren't available for adoption because they are trying to unify the family. If you are pregnant and you don't want a child, you could give it up for adoption. So and adoption is different than going into foster care. So it's weird that people bring this up, but they bring it up because they're like, they say that there's suffering in foster care and that children are treated badly and all this other kind of stuff. So the logic follows is like, okay, you support abortion because you want to eliminate suffering. Okay, in the case of the abortion, it's you're trying to prevent hypothetical future suffering. So if you actually want to prevent known suffering, then why wouldn't you just go and kill all the kids in foster care? Like, oh, it's different when you're born. Like, okay, well, you don't know that these kids are going to suffer, and they're not going to go into foster care. Likely not going to go into foster care. They might say, well, if they're unwanted, then what? If they're unwanted, you can't find someone else who wants, like, there's children are wanted. You just have to find the right hearts to connect them. Okay. And it's easier to do that when you have a newborn baby and you come up with some kind of adoption plan. There's millions of people literally waiting to adopt a child. So if the argument is, if you make women who want to have an abortion have their babies, that they will grow up abusive and neglectful, and that will somehow end up removing that child from their care because they're bad, terrible parents who treat the children like crap, and they're going to end up in foster care. I think the data doesn't actually like pan that out, but I think that's a really terrible worldview to have about women who are pro-choice. Like, I know that they are for unaliving the children, but in their mind, they're not. They're trying to suppress what that actually is. But you're saying if they actually had their child and their child was born, that they would just treat them so poorly that they'd end up in foster care? Like, that makes her side sound worse. So if they're just like inherently capable of that, then maybe they shouldn't be having children at all. But a lot of these women who have abortions, they want children in the future at a time that's more convenient for them. But according to the Turnaway study, which isn't great, but the left uses it all the time, women who are denied an abortion don't regret not killing their kids because they love them and they form bonds with them. So just because you have a child and you previously wanted to abort them doesn't mean that they will be abused and end up in foster care. But people say it all the time, like, oh, foster care. They bring up foster care because they're trying to reduce suffering. They're trying to reduce harm. So what if someone did decide in this world that, oh gosh, if you are suffering, we should end your suffering. And the best way to do that is to unalive folks who are suffering. Like, it's just, it depends what it is. Like, you can't eliminate suffering. And I think Sam is making that case, but, consensus on these matters, like how you're going to group together and just decide to end suffering, isn't enough. I guess, of a worldview is what I'm saying. Like Richard Dawkins, for example, he's a God sucks, Christians are dumb kind of guy, and Christian morality is bad, all this stuff, blah blah blah. And one day I'm like, I wonder what this man has said about abortion. I know he's probably said something crazy. So I start looking it up. And someone had asked him, like, would it be moral, like, to abort a child if they have Down syndrome? And he said it would be, like, immoral not to. Something along those lines. And so it was very controversial thing to say, and so he got some hot water about it. I'm like, you think Christians are so immoral, and you're saying that it's like it's a moral duty to, like, purposely go ahead and kill the children with Down syndrome? Like that's your worldview? Okay. Okay. What is that? That is the position. Like we want to reduce suffering. So we want to unalive the children who are in the womb. Now they care about autonomy and other things like that, so maybe they wouldn't push for that, but who knows? Like the consensus could always come to that agreement that that's the right thing to do. So I just I don't think he's got a lot of leg room to stand on here, and I think that's apparent anyway.
It's always going to reduce you to a preference. So if you say that killing is wrong and I say it's right, you would really have no contention with that.
Well, no, I don't base my understanding of civil society on religion. And so we have a civil society. Okay. We have laws that we have decided as a society in a democratic way. And
okay, but a lot of the things that we understand about civil society is influenced by religion. He benefits from that. He benefits from, our Judeo-Christian values in America, the West, and there's Blackstone's is it Blackstone's theory? What it is called, where it was like where we get the principle of I'd rather 100 guilty men go to save one innocent man, like they're innocent before, we have to presume that their innocence rather than them being guilty and stuff, and those things like influence off of the Abraham pleading with God, like if there's one righteous in the city, like I won't destroy them and stuff. So there's all kinds of things that are influenced, Ten Commandments, into our society that he benefits, where we get our laws and our morals and our values and everything together. And by the way, the Christian perspective is also that the people who don't know the law or whatever, it's still written on their hearts. So I mean, we still believe that you're influenced one way or another because you know what the truth is, what the right thing and the wrong thing is, because the law is written in your hearts. People can deny that and people will suppress the truth so they can go and commit evils, but even your sense of right and wrong is still influenced by there being a God. It is how we would look at it anyway. There was a quote I wanted to Christina, that is a political persecution. Name of rights really must dive why they think that ideology a huge difference from religious persecution. Okay.
For some people, it's okay for it to be informed by their religion. That's okay.
Okay, perfect. So if tomorrow society comes together and we say, hey, trans folks don't deserve rights, you would be okay with that?
No, I would be against it, but I mean, it would be
morally right under your
not
view.
Morally right. No. I'm not talking about morals.
Okay,
here.
so here's where I'm getting to, right? Religious foundations provide an ethical framework for one to live their life off.
I believe you can have an ethical framework without religion.
And if we take the leftist view to its logical tail end, to its extreme view, you have low reproductive birth rate, to have a reproductive dead end. So two men together can't reproduce unless they have to take from a healthy straight couple. Religion provides this foundation where you do prioritize the nuclear family.
So do you have a problem with gay people being married?
It's not that I have a problem. I just don't see a justification for why they ought to be gay outside of it just feels good. Can you give me another justification for it?
Well, I think maybe that's the way they were born.
Okay. What about pedophiles? Are they born that way?
They may be, yeah.
Okay. So should we let a pedophile off the hook since they were born that way?
No, I think we as a society
should implement duties to prevent them from acting on that innate urge, correct?
Well, I think between consenting adults, it's a different thing than.
Okay, so you're okay with a 45-year-old dad with a 19-year-old daughter as well? Incest?
No.
If they consent, you're okay with that?
No, I think society has determined that it's not beneficial.
Right, there's duties and obligations that we have. So religion provides those duties. Life isn't about freedom and exercising what you want.
I mean, well, you want to impose your religious doctrine on me, and I don't want that.
You just admitted we need duties. We have responsibility as society to keep us functioning, to keep us thriving. Your leftist view, the liberal view, doesn't provide anything besides it just makes me feel good. Religion.
So what I've seen a lot of comments with this guy, And I've come across one of his YouTube videos, and he debated someone on TikTok. It was a kid Mason, um, about they got into his ethical framework, and he ended up bringing up incest, and Mason couldn't really justify why incest was wrong. Um, and he brought up like inbreeding, and he's like, okay, what if it's two brothers? And then Mason was like, okay, well, what about power dynamics? I'm like, well, if they're like twin brothers or something, like, why would there be power dynamics? And that, it was just I think a bad cope or whatever. There. So they talked about other things as well, but when it got to that point, like, he couldn't justify why incest was wrong in his worldview. Like Sam Seder here, and people pointed out, like, he could have said like a father and a daughter could, you know, have different negative genetic ramifications if they were to breed. But I did comment under someone who had mentioned it. I said, well, this person would just say two men, because they're not gonna, that's a reproductive dead end. So if they did consent and they wanted to engage, what is if consent to you is all that really matters, if it feels good, and I like it, therefore I want to do it, if that's what matters and what you're okay with in your society, then why isn't a relationship like that okay? And we know when it's not, but they don't have a good reason for it. And people were really mad that he compared homosexuality and stuff to pedophilia, but that wasn't what he was doing when he brought up that example. Sam, said that he believed that gay people are born that way. So, and then he brought up pedophilia and said, well, I think they're born that way too. So his point in bringing it up was not to say that, I don't know, that they're like each other or are each other, something like that, but it was to test Sam's logic as far as if it's natural, or if it's how someone is born, should they just be able to act out on their desires, their natural desires? And so Sam said no, and so he's like, okay, so you believe in imposing some social duties, and people can't just have the freedom to do whatever they want. They have responsibilities and duties and so on. So that wasn't hard to follow. But people just, I can understand why people be triggered by it and be upset at the comparison, but that wasn't the point of him bringing that up.
It does. So what's your argument?
What's my argument as to why I don't want
You have no
your
contention.
religion to? Well, because first of all, I don't think that you have the right to corner what God is telling us is right or wrong. And there are differences between religions. And so my argument is, like, you're not going to keep halal or kosher, right? I mean, I don't believe that someone has a corner on religious truth. And the reason why we have a democracy is because we didn't want a king. And the kings came from the idea that their God said that they're the ones who's supposed to be king. And so we can disagree on this. I don't want to live in a country that is ruled by religious fundamentalism.
And if I do, you have no issue with that.
And no. And this is why I say, under Trump, yes, you have won.
Yes.
Well, as far as his belief that no one has a corner market on that is just a belief. I mean, people do believe different things, but you can debate the merits of the different belief systems or whatever, the historicity of the Bible. And I mean, if you want to compare the Jewish faith to the Christian faith, you could just really analyze, is Jesus God, and is he, is he making those claims? Did those claims, bear out? Did he actually, was he actually crucified? And if the thing that we know about Jesus historically is that he was crucified and died under Pontius Pilate. So, everyone believes that, I guess, except the Muslims, so they're super wrong. So we're going to exclude the Muslims. Did he rise? And I heard Ben Shapiro once say, like, ask I can't think of which Christian it was. He mentioned that Lazarus raised from the dead. So like just because you raise from the dead, like that doesn't just mean that you're like automatically divine or whatever. It's like, but he did say that he was going to rise, and that was Lazarus rose because Jesus called him out and made him rise. So it just kind of seems like it's obvious who has the power there in the situation. So it seemed like a not good argument from Ben there. And if you look through Isaiah and stuff and other things in the Bible, like, is the Old Testament just really all paving a way for Jesus who fulfilled all these things? And so you can debate those things and come to a conclusion of who's right and who's wrong and so on. So you can maybe not want to do the work on who is right and who is wrong, but just believing no one has a corner market, that's like that other girl who was like, I believe it's all different love language to the, like, there's ways to suss out who's wrong and who's right, and we can debate those, and some people have better arguments than others, and people have been debating these things for a long time, obviously, but I just, you shrug your shoulders because you want to.
You have a
Only
bunch
male
of
and
Christian,
female. You're right.
You have a Christian
One.
nationalist,
Yes.
and
Which is necessary.
And so I concede the point that under Trump, your Christian nationalism has gained an advantage
Yes.
under this.
Sorry, we're going to have more kids. We're going to have less abortions. We're going to have more family. We're going to have stable family households. Sorry about better
Trans
education.
people, gay people should be outlawed.
They should be straight. They should be straight.
Women should be secondary to their husbands.
Women should submit
right?
to husbands.
Women
that doesn't
should
mean they
submit to the
that doesn't mean they are
husbands.
slaves.
Right,
It doesn't
no,
mean they are
I
slaves. It means
understand.
they are
I
protected.
understand. You
Okay,
got
let me ask you that. Let me ask you.
No.
Should women be drafted?
Listen,
Should women be drafted?
Listen, I think
if they're equal, should they be drafted?
I think this is the vision that you have, and I think Trump supports it.
Yes.
I think the Christian nationalists he has throughout his government are all going to work towards your vision.
Yes.
And my hope is that when people look at this, they say, hey, wait a second. I don't want my life to be dictated by the notion of a Christian nationalist prescription. Now, you may win out. I mean, certainly, like if you look at a country like Iran, they have a theocracy there, and apparently that's good for them if they want it.
My final point is whenever.
But I don't want to live in a
My final point is whenever.
That's where basically is about to cut off, but I definitely wouldn't say it's a good thing for Iran that they live in a Muslim theocracy. But the more you decrease Christianity in the world and in these Western countries, the more they make room for Islam. So if you don't like keep picking on these Christians, you're gonna get more Islam. We're not gonna fall into some kind of atheist utopia like Richard Dawkins wanted, and now he's like, I miss Christmas being all Christian and the Christmas trees, and then he's like, well, I consider myself to be a cultural Christian. Like, you did your damage, sir, and now you're whining and you're crying. Like, get saved, bro. But he's still mocking Christians and is baffled by atheists converting and whatever. That's someone who really doesn't want to know the truth, to be honest. But Sam saying, well, you won, and oh, he didn't really explain or push back on why some of the things that they're debating, like the transgender issue, like it's a good thing to not have boys competing against girls in sports. It's a good thing. There's more information coming out every day about the damage of transgender ideology and surgeries and the hormones and the puberty blockers and the effects on people who have decided to transition. So beating that back is a good thing. It's a good thing. The people took issue with him saying they just need to be straight. That is a theology. It's a that is way too much of an oversimplification. You could say that people ought to live in a way that's conducive to procreation and stuff, but people have to sort that out with God. And I don't think if you necessarily have all those inclinations that you should just go hop into like get married and be struggling with that, and then your partner suffers. Like you have to, you know, I've seen people and heard testimonies of people who get into a further alignment with God, and and eventually they get to a place where those inclinations pass away, and then there's people who continue to struggle with them and choose to live just a life of celibacy. And just saying they just need to be straight is way over too much of a simplification. But as far as like being a genetic sort of a dead end, I mean that, and having to borrow from other people, like two men and two women can't create a child. So I mean there are gay couples who have children because maybe one has one from divorce, or maybe someone wasn't married, and or people have IVF and do it that way. But I don't think it's right to purposely come in and sort of create a broken family like that. Like um there's one thing where you're rebuilding a family, and people remarry, and then there's stepchildren, or you adopt or something like that, and you're trying to bring a wholeness to a situation. But to purposely design a child to not have a father, or to purposely design a child to not have a mother, I think that's a grave injustice. So yeah, I don't think Sam made a good argument in this segment, but a lot of people don't like his debate me bro kind of style. Some people are comparing him to Andrew Wilson, like he learned this from Andrew Wilson. I know if he learned it from Andrew Wilson, but yeah, Sam, I would say he was kind of a little off topic. I mean, he wanted to to point out that Sam has a problem with religious fundamentalism, but the issue is that he himself doesn't have a worldview that he can really justify, and it's all very subjective. And in the end, Sam brought it back to like, well, you guys have won, and hopefully people look back and are like, oh my gosh, this is a bad thing. But he didn't make the case to why they would. It's just kind of a wait and see. So I think he failed this prompt. And it kind of did remind me of Andrew Wilson, who may or may not be debating Sam Seder. I don't know. He had like mentioned it and was like, this is the guy who wants to debate me. Ha, ha, ha. I don't know if that's true or not. That would be, I guess, interesting to watch. Andrew is kind of prickly. He's not my favorite dude, but his debate with atheist Dill Hunty at DebateCon, I think like 2 years ago, we had talked about, I think I played a clip from it the other day, maybe last week or the week before. It was like human secularism versus, Christianity. And Dill Hunty was like, and Dill Hunty is a jerk. He's a jerk and very snarky to people all the time when he debates. So he definitely like met his match and ended up rage quitting. But he was talking about human secularism is good and Christianity is bad. He mentioned Mike Johnson and how he's against gay marriage, and Christianity's bad because they're mean to gays and things like that. And so Andrew Wilson was like, okay, let's just say that Christianity is fake and Sky Daddy isn't real. He's like, even still, if we choose to act out the values or virtues of Christianity, even if it is fake, it would still be better than human secularism, because our doctrine encourages truth and your doctrine encourages lies. And so it allows for the insanity of believing that a man can become a woman and a woman can become a man and things like that. And Dill Hunty apparently is with a trans woman, and I don't know if he still is, but he got really upset and rage quit, and then the audience was mad at him too, and even the moderator was mad. They're like, why'd you say it like that? Why are you calling people lunatics? And and yeah, because he said people who I guess are trans are lunatics and stuff. So I mean, they're not well. They have a mental illness, but so Dillhunty like rage quit. But yeah, if your subjective sort of worldview for human, because they argue like for human flourishing, and so I didn't hear Andrew like ask this question, and even like Inspiring Philosophy debated an atheist, and he brought up like, well, Christianity is bad because of a game, because they're mean to gays, and we're for human flourishing and stuff. And I guess I would ask the question, like, how does homosexuality lead to human flourishing if it's genetically a dead end? Like the justification would, like you said, would just be it feels good, so let's do it. So I don't get it on the grounds of human flourishing. Like, what's the definition of human flourishing? I'm not saying go out and like gulags or something like that. That's not my argument. But I just mean like encouraging, like there's a reason if you like bolster marriage because you're trying to like bolster the nuclear sort of family to build communities and intact families and things like that. You can't have an intact family that is bred from homosexuality. Like, so I I don't understand. It doesn't lead to human flourishing. So I don't know if that's too, I know, base to say, but that's something I guess I wish one of these people would kind of ask in one of these debates. Someone said Andrew is pretty antagonistic. I wish these guys would rest on the logic of debate rather than mock the opponent so much. I agree with that. I don't think but Andrew can certainly be that way. And but he doesn't necessarily always, he can go that route pretty quick himself. But like in the Dillhunty thing, like people were mad at him, but Dillhunty insulted him first. And then I think he called him a jackass. And then he was like, you and your husband have a good day. And so people were like, oh, why'd you call his trans woman his husband? It's like, because he's a guy. He's a guy. And they were so mad at him. And it's like, he insulted him first. Like, well, why did you bring up all this stuff about transgender? He's like, because he brought up Mike Johnson. And he brought it up. Like, Dillhunty opened. He had opening statements. So I don't think Andrew is necessarily always the one to strike first. But he is, as I said, quite prickly. Now, people thought that this guy Elazar on Twitter, he's Easy Debates. I don't remember what his YouTube handle is, but they thought that he was mocking him, and but I don't remember him insulting Sam at all. Like, Mason, who's on Jubilee, he insults a lot. Like he debated Michael Knowles, and he kept calling Michael Knowles a female name, to dig at him. He would just find ways to dig on people. Like, even when he brought up he tried to mention that other cultures view marriage and gender differently than the West, and he brought up Mayans, and Michael Knowles got him because he's like, well, what did Mayans believe? And he didn't know anything about what the Mayans actually believed. But Michael Knowles had said something like, well, they're not around anymore. He's like, oh yeah, because of colonization, which I'm not surprised that you agree with. And like, there's just an attitude there. So I feel like the left does that more than the right. But he definitely had a quick talking, aggressive kind of way about him. I wouldn't really have much interest in debating like someone who's like blah 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 blah, the one of those debate me bro kind of energy. Like, I wouldn't necessarily want to debate Dean or Park. Dean Withers or Parker. I don't know Parker's last name, but they're huge on the TikTok sphere, and they were on Jubilee. And Parker just recently followed Charlie Kirk to one of those campus events to try to get him. And they talk real fast, and they're very disingenuous, and they'll bring up complicated things that they're gonna take really kind of a long time, because he brought up like slavery and was quoting scriptures out of context, and things that you can look up and ought to know. And I'm like, why don't you know the response to this if you debate and research and study so much? And you're like, are you trying to be disingenuous? Do you not care enough to have looked up this answer by now? But anyway, some of them, they seem so bad faith, but they talk so fast, and they'll bring in their little jabs to win the audience. It's kind of like Ben Shapiro has the attitude of, when you debate to like, well, like, what's your goal of the debate? Is it to change someone's mind? Is that possible? If it's a kind of a hostile kind of person or environment, is it just to kind of get the crowd, win by the crowd? And I feel like those guys are like, hey, Ben Shapiro talks fast, let's get the crowd, and that's what they do. It's like, let's slow down, let's unpack these things, let's talk about it. And I'm not interested in your gotcha bull crap, so I can understand people not liking his style, but the Jubilee has a lot of liberals that they put on their program that are like diarrhea mouth dudes. So anyway, made by I have to look this person up. Made by Jim Bob. I don't think I've heard of him. I'll have to look them up for sure. I'll have to look them up. I do like watching debates, but I don't. Yeah, I don't always like Andrew. He's a little too red pill, and I don't like that community. But I thought it was an interesting segment on Jubilee. Anyway, that's all I got. We are almost at an hour and a half, so I'm going to go ahead and shut down the show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please go to blacktunes.com, check out different content on the website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the site, because it does cost a stream and running all that good stuff, so you guys can support. I appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch that's available on the website as well, like different t-shirts and mugs and so on. So go ahead and check out that stuff. You guys can also check out some of my books I've written. I have 18 altogether. There's a link in the description. I'll take you to an Amazon page. So go ahead and check some of that stuff out. I have books on ebook, paperback, or Kindle Unlimited. All my fiction books are available on Kindle Unlimited. The nonfiction ones you do have to purchase by Kindle or like ebook or paperback. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to all of you who watch back later. God bless you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.